Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Well, it's beginning to look like possibly the single biggest hack in history, and we're learning more about the breadth of it every day. Now, you may remember that back when the coronavirus pandemic first hit, many people pointed out that part of the reason, or at least it seemed plausible that part of the reason our government was so unprepared, was because the Trump administration had actually reached in and disbanded a White House pandemic response team in 2018. And so now, as more and more extremely worrying details about Russia's massive cyber attack on our federal government come to light, it seems worth pointing out that just days after getting rid of the pandemic response team, the White House eliminated the position of cybersecurity coordinator on the National Security Council. As the New York Times reported at the time, quote, the elimination of the cybersecurity role is likely to increase concern that the Trump administration is shorthanded and unprepared to deal with increasing cybersecurity threats. Last night, Senator Richard Blumenthal said on this show that the Russian cyber attack made him both alarmed and scared. He could not fully elaborate because the information was classified, but tonight, we've got a better understanding of why that might be. Politico reporting this. The Energy Department and National Nuclear Security Administration, which maintains a U.S. nuclear weapons stockpile, have evidence that hackers accessed their networks as part of an extensive espionage operation. The Energy Department since released a statement saying, quote, at this point, the investigation has found that the malware has been isolated to business networks only and has not impacted the mission-essential national security functions of the department, including the National Nuclear Security Administration. Now, right now, we don't know what the hackers did, if anything, inside the network of the agency that maintains our nuclear weapons. But the idea that our nuclear weapons are not completely secure would be profoundly disturbing. In an op-ed for the New York Times, President Trump's former Homeland Security advisor Tom Bossert explained why the Russians don't even need to do much to cause chaos. Quote, the actual and perceived control of so many important networks could easily be used to undermine public and consumer trust in data, written communications, and services. The networks that the Russians control, they have the power to destroy or alter data and impersonate legitimate people. Domestic and geopolitical tensions could escalate quite easily if they use their access for malign influence and misinformation, both hallmarks of Russian behavior. This cyber attack was so pervasive, it's not just the U.S. government that was impacted. New York Times reports tonight Microsoft has identified at least 40 companies, government agencies, think tanks, the suspected Russian hackers actually stole data from. Nearly half are private technology firms, Microsoft said, many of them cybersecurity firms like FireEye that are charged with securing vast sections of the public and private sector. Nicole Perlroth covers cybersecurity and digital espionage for the New York Times. She's been covering this story from the elimination of the White House cybersecurity coordinator through this developing cybersecurity crisis. And Nicole, you've been reporting, I know, all day on this. What's the sort of latest on where we are with this?
The latest is what Microsoft said. They came out tonight and they said that so far they've identified 40 victims. And what's interesting about the victimology here is that, like they said, nearly half are IT companies like SolarWinds, which is the company we know was used as a conduit to get into some of these federal agencies. CISA earlier today, the agency charged with cybersecurity, also came out with an emergency alert today saying that they believe SolarWinds was not the only inroad into these systems. And so what we're looking at now is a hack that's not just ongoing, that's not just highly sophisticated, but also we cannot trust the supply chain. We can no longer trust that any third-party application in these systems has not been compromised by Russia. So far, Microsoft said they've identified 40 victims. They said, it's early days. They expect that number to rise. But already what we know is that the list of victims is highly concerning. As you mentioned, we're looking at sections of the Department of Energy. We had already reported at the Times that Los Alamos National Labs had been one of the agencies hit that oversees the nation's nuclear weapons stockpile. Commerce, Treasury, parts of the Pentagon, but the list keeps getting greater. And we expect that actually the next couple of victims that we'll identify will probably likely be major technology companies.
So there's a bunch of things to process here. I mean, one is that, right, this wasn't, if we say it was a hack of the U.S. government, that's actually too specific. It appears to be a broad hack of all kinds of entities, big private firms, including software security firms, big private enterprises, Fortune 500 companies, think tanks, the government. And then the thing that really struck me in that Tom Bossert op-ed was him just making the point that, look, they were in there for 8 months without anyone knowing. That's a lot of time for a lot of very sophisticated operatives to put a bunch of different trapdoors in that aren't necessarily going to be found.
Yep, that's right. And we know from FireEye that they have already found several backdoors that they planted once they were inside. And I think everyone says it's still very early. They expect to find more backdoors. It's going to be very hard for victims that are not technologically sophisticated to find all of them. They expect that just the investigation alone could take months, if not years, and that there's going to be a very long tail to this. Now, the only quibble I have with Tom Bossert's op-ed in the Times last night was he made the point that this access could be used for destruction of data, to shut down systems. And if there's any silver lining to this, and there really aren't many, it's that the group that we think is behind this, the SVR, they're more quiet prowlers than they are other units of the Russian intelligence service we know has shut down parts of the grid in Ukraine before. They've been responsible for the hack and leaks, the DNC. But this is another group. This is the group that goes in and they are really designed to steal data for traditional espionage. But they're doing it in such a way that they are making us question the vulnerability of our entire supply chain, which really makes this a hack of its own.